Have you ever wondered why life seems to pass in a flash, leaving you feeling rushed, restless, and missing the moments that truly matter? If so, you're not alone, and this video may hold the key you've been looking for today. We're exploring the profound wisdom of a 90-year-old grandmother whose gentle, time-tested lessons, often influenced by Buddhist philosophy, offer a surprising antidote to the relentless pace of modern life. By watching until the very end, you'll discover 5 simple yet powerful principles that can help you slow down, appreciate the beauty hidden in the ordinary, and find true inner harmony. These insights aren't just heartwarming stories. They're practical steps you can start taking right now. Trust me when I say that the 5th piece of advice will shift the way you see your world. If you want to escape the endless race and finally begin living at a pace that brings real joy, you won't want to miss a single moment of what's coming next. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, I recommend doing so now and activating the notification bell. This way, you'll never miss out on any videos that can help you live a slower, more meaningful life. Your support means so much to me. If you found this video insightful, consider liking and sharing it to help me continue spreading valuable lessons that can benefit others. Now let me ask you something. The blurry rush of life. Have you ever felt as though life is sweeping by in the blink of an eye? It seems that with each passing year, the days are slipping through our fingers faster, leaving behind a trail of hurried moments and fragmented memories. It's almost as if we're living our lives on fast forward, everything blending together in a blur. We rush from one responsibility to another, checking off endless items on our to-do list only to realize too late that we've hardly had time to take a deep breath to simply pause and take in the moment. This feeling lingered in my mind recently when I visited my 90-year-old grandmother. She's a woman whose body may have grown frail with the passing of time, but whose spirit is more vibrant than ever. Despite her advanced years, my grandmother exudes a calm and steady energy that seems to ripple through the very air around her. Her life, of course, has not been without challenges. She has seen hardships that would break most people, endured the kind of losses that carve deep, indelible marks on a person's heart, and weathered storms, both literal and metaphorical, that would have sent many others into despair. And yet, on this particular afternoon, as I sat beside her, I couldn't help but marvel at her sense of peace. She sat in her favorite armchair, positioned just by the window in her living room, sipping her tea. The room was quiet, save for the soft hum of the world outside. The afternoon sunlight streamed through the window, casting a soft, golden glow across her face. Beyond the window, the trees in her garden swayed gently in the breeze, their leaves rustling in perfect harmony with the rhythm of nature. The delicate scent of jasmine floated through the air, mingling with the warm, comforting aroma of her tea, creating a sense of serenity that was almost otherworldly. It felt as though time had momentarily paused in reverence for the wisdom she carried with her. The world around her seemed to slow down, and in that peaceful stillness I couldn't help but wonder how she had come to live so gracefully in the face of such a rapidly changing world. It was as though she had mastered the art of stillness amidst chaos, and in that quiet moment I knew I had to ask her what it was that kept her grounded. The lessons of a lifetime. I settled in beside her, drawn by the peace that radiated from her very presence. In the stillness, I turned to her and asked the question that had been nagging at me for some time. "Grandma, what do you feel when you look at all this?" She set her cup of tea down gently, her hands trembling slightly, but with a grace that belied her age. A soft smile tugged at the corners of her lips as her eyes sparkled with a depth that only a lifetime of love, loss, and learning could create. Her gaze drifted away from me, looking out at the garden that she had tended with such care for so many years. "You know," she began, her voice soft yet steady, "when I was young, I spent so much of my life running." She paused, as though choosing her words carefully. "I was always in a rush, trying to raise a family, keep the house in order, and meet everyone's needs. I thought I had to do it all, that I had to be everything for everyone. But now," she trailed off, her voice becoming a whisper as she continued, "now I see things differently." Her eyes remained fixed on the garden, and for a moment I thought she had forgotten me. But then she spoke again, her voice full of a quiet wisdom that carried more weight than anything I had ever heard. The happiest moments of my life, she said, weren't in the rushing. They were in the times I stopped, the moments when I sat still, looked around, listened to the world, and simply loved. The truth is, all the good happens when you stop chasing and start being. Slowing down is where the beauty of life reveals itself. Her words pierced through me like an arrow, striking a deep chord in my heart. How many times had I rushed through life, caught up in the demands of the moment, blind to the simple joys that were right in front of me? Her wisdom echoed in my mind long after I left her home, reshaping my perspective in ways that I couldn't fully grasp in that moment. The first principle: slowing down. Today, I want to share with you the 5 life-changing pieces of advice my grandmother gave me that day, truths that are inspired by Buddhist teachings and designed to bring peace, joy, and clarity into your life. These aren't just empty platitudes. They are lessons born from a life lived fully, deeply, and intentionally. The 5th rule, in particular, has the power to transform your inner world and unlock a sense of harmony that you may have forgotten was possible. But before we dive in, let me ask you one more thing: the restlessness of the modern world. Do you ever feel like life is slipping through your fingers, moving so fast that you can't catch your breath? Do you find yourself drained, disconnected, and pouring energy into things that don't truly bring you happiness? If so, you're not alone. It's a feeling that many of us experience, especially in the hustle and bustle of modern life. We live in a world that demands our constant attention: emails, social media, endless obligations, and often in the midst of all this noise, we forget to pause, to listen, and to simply be present. I know that feeling well. On my Telegram channel, I share practical, heartfelt techniques to help you slow down, reconnect, and find balance. It's a space where I explore ways to embrace the stillness, even in the midst of life's chaos. I invite you to join me there, using the link in the description below this video. Together, we can learn to rediscover peace, joy, and the present moment. Let's begin with my grandmother's first piece of advice: slowing down. The power of mindfulness. When you slow down, she said, her voice steady with conviction, you begin to see the things you've been too busy to notice. Life's treasures are hidden in the moments we often rush past. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. It's early morning. Instead of reaching for your phone or diving headfirst into your responsibilities, you take a different approach. You sit by the window with a warm cup of tea in your hands. You feel the gentle warmth of the cup against your fingers, inhale the soothing aroma, and take a sip, letting the flavors dance on your tongue. As you gaze out at the sky, you watch its colors shift as the day awakens. For a few precious moments, you're not thinking about yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's uncertainties. You're simply present. This is mindfulness, the ability to be fully engaged in the present moment. It's a gift that Buddhist teachings have celebrated for centuries. When you slow down, you step into the present, and the world around you begins to unfold in ways you may have never noticed before. You hear the birds sing, the leaves rustle in the wind, the hum of life itself. You feel the texture of your emotions, and for the first time in a long time, you breathe deeply and truly feel. Living with intention. Slowing down doesn't mean you accomplish less. It means you experience more. It means you allow life's beauty to touch your heart in ways that rushing never could. My grandmother's wisdom is a gentle reminder that life isn't a race to be won. It's a melody to be savored, a story to be cherished, and a gift to be treasured. So take her advice, slow down, let go of the rush. Sit by the window, breathe deeply, savor your tea. Notice the sunlight. Listen to the whispers of the world around you. Because when the years have passed and the noise has faded, these are the moments you'll hold closest to your heart. These are the moments that make life truly worth living. The wisdom of letting go. There's a timeless truth, one that has been passed down through generations, often shared by those whose lives have been shaped by both hardship and joy. My grandmother, a woman whose wisdom seemed carved from the trials and triumphs of a long, full life, was no exception. I vividly remember the moments when she would sit in her favorite chair, her weathered hands folded gently in her lap, speaking to me with a voice that was both tender and resolute. It was in these quiet moments that I absorbed the life lessons she shared, lessons that have shaped who I am today and continue to guide me through life. One particular lesson has stayed with me, embedded deep within my heart, and it has been a source of solace and strength during the most difficult moments of my life. Letting go, she would say, is the key to freedom. The simplicity of her words carried a profound weight, one that I didn't fully understand until much later in life. Her life, full of its own trials and triumphs, had been a constant lesson in the art of letting go, and it was this wisdom that I would later come to understand in a way that would change my entire outlook on life: the weight of grudges and regrets. Carrying a grudge is like dragging a suitcase filled with heavy bricks, she once told me, her eyes soft but steady as she looked at me. These bricks serve no purpose except to weigh you down, making every step forward harder than it needs to be. But the moment you let go, you'll feel a lightness you didn't know was possible. Her voice had a way of making even the most difficult lessons sound simple and clear. She wasn't just telling me to forgive, she was teaching me that forgiveness and letting go was a form of liberation. At the time, I couldn't fully grasp the weight of her words. I was still young, still caught in the emotional tangles of my own life. I had my own wounds, my own regrets, and I carried them with me like a badge of honor, convinced that they were a part of who I was. The thought of letting them go seemed impossible. How could I move on without acknowledging the pain? How could I release the hurt that had shaped me? But as I watched my grandmother over the years, I began to understand. She wasn't weak for letting go of the past. She was stronger than I could have ever imagined. She had seen so much of life, the losses, the betrayals, the mistakes, and the missteps, but she had learned to release them. She had come to know that the only way forward was through letting go. The freedom of letting go. The more I reflected on my grandmother's words, the more I realized that the weight of my own emotional baggage was not a badge of honor but a shackle, chaining me to a past I could no longer control. It wasn't until I allowed myself to let go of the old grudges and regrets that I began to experience a sense of freedom. The lightness that my grandmother spoke of was real, an unburdening of the soul that brought peace in its wake. Letting go wasn't about forgetting or erasing the past. It was about accepting that I could not change what had already happened. The ghosts of my past no longer had to control me. The bitterness of a betrayal, the sting of harsh words spoken in anger, the weight of unmet expectations, these things no longer had to be my defining story. My past was not a life sentence. It was simply a chapter in a much larger narrative, one that I had the power to rewrite. This realization was a slow, gentle process, but it was transformative. I began to see that the pain of the past was not a life sentence, but a lesson, one that I could carry forward, not as a burden, but as a part of my strength. The Buddhist perspective on letting go. This idea of letting go is not unique to my grandmother or to my personal experience. It is a principle deeply embedded in many spiritual traditions, including Buddhism. In Buddhist teachings, letting go is not seen as an act of forgetfulness, but as a way to liberate oneself from the bonds of attachment and suffering. Buddhism teaches that clinging to what no longer is only keeps us from embracing what could be. To let go is to reclaim your power, to release yourself from the shackles of resentment and regret, and to step into the present moment with open arms. The Buddhist concept of non-attachment is crucial here. It is not about giving up everything or renouncing desires. Rather, it is about releasing the grip that attachments have over us. It is about acknowledging that everything in life is impermanent, and by holding on to things, whether they are material possessions, old hurts, or past relationships, we are only causing ourselves more pain. The key is to release the need for control, to let go of the emotional and psychological baggage we carry, and to embrace the impermanence of life with grace. Letting go in this way is not a sign of weakness, as many people may fear. It is, in fact, a declaration of strength, a way of saying, I will no longer let this hold me captive. By releasing what no longer serves us, we open ourselves to the possibilities of the present moment. to new experiences, and to a deeper connection with ourselves and others. The power of visualization in letting go. As I began to put this wisdom into practice, I found that one of the most powerful tools for letting go was visualization. I would close my eyes and imagine the things I was still holding on to, whether it was a painful memory, a grudge, or a regret, as a heavy suitcase. Each brick inside the suitcase represented a different emotional weight, a hurtful word, a past mistake, an unfulfilled expectation. As I visualized the suitcase, I could feel the weight of it, the heaviness pulling me down, making each step forward feel more difficult. But with each breath, I began to imagine myself releasing the weight. The bricks would dissolve one by one until the suitcase was empty and I was standing tall, lighter, freer. It was a simple practice, but it had a profound effect. I realized that my past did not have to dictate my future. I had the power to let go, to release the things that no longer served me, and to step into the present moment with open arms. Gratitude, the fourth piece of advice. As I continued to reflect on my grandmother's lessons, I was reminded of another piece of advice that she often shared with me, the importance of gratitude. When I take time to give thanks for what I have, she would say, it feels as though my soul is wrapped in a soft, glowing warmth. Gratitude, she taught me, has the power to transform even the harshest days into something beautiful. It allows us to shift our perspective, to see the abundance in our lives instead of focusing on what we lack. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you or acknowledging the good things in life. It is about cultivating a mindset of abundance. It is about seeing the beauty in the everyday moments, in the simple gifts of life, and in the lessons that even hardship can bring. When we practice gratitude, we begin to recognize the countless blessings that surround us, even in the most challenging times. My grandmother's approach to gratitude was simple but profound. Every evening, she would pause for a moment, reflecting on 3 things she was grateful for. It could be something as simple as the warmth of a cup of tea or the laughter of a friend. These small moments, she taught me, were the ones that carried the deepest significance. When we make a habit of noticing the good in our lives, we begin to see that no matter how difficult things may seem, there is always something to be grateful for. Finding inner silence, the 5th piece of advice. The final piece of wisdom my grandmother shared with me was the importance of finding time for inner silence. Silence is not emptiness, she would say. It is the moment when you hear yourself, your true self. She believed that in the quiet moments of life, when the world fades into the background, we can finally hear the whispers of our hearts, the truths we often overlook in the rush of daily life. In our fast-paced, achievement-driven world, silence is often seen as a luxury, something that can be sacrificed in favor of more productivity. But my grandmother taught me that silence is not something to be feared or avoided. It is in silence that we find clarity, peace, and connection with our true selves. By setting aside time each day to simply be, to sit in stillness and listen to the quiet rhythm of our breath, we open ourselves to a deeper understanding of who we are and what truly matters. Embracing the silence within. As I embraced my grandmother's advice, I began to carve out moments of silence in my own life. Whether it was during the stillness of the morning or the quiet of the evening, I would find a place to sit undisturbed, close my eyes, and simply breathe. At first, my mind was restless, filled with the noise of the world. But with practice, the noise began to quiet, and in that silence, I began to hear the steady, clear voice of my true self. It was a voice that reminded me that I am enough, just as I am. Conclusion: a journey of self-discovery. These 5 pieces of advice, letting go, practicing gratitude, and finding time for inner silence, are not just individual practices, but a holistic approach to living a life filled with peace, wisdom, and fulfillment. They have guided me through many of life's challenges, helping me to navigate difficult moments with grace and to embrace the beauty of the present moment. As I continue on my own journey, I carry these lessons with me, knowing that they are not just teachings from my grandmother, but universal truths that can lead anyone toward a life of true freedom and contentment. And so I ask you, what is it that you are still holding on to? What could you achieve, feel, and become if you chose to let go of the weight that no longer serves you? The freedom that comes from releasing the past, practicing gratitude, and finding silence within yourself is waiting for you. All you need to do is take the first step.